I had to do a presentation for work when I was in the hospital. And that was what
What?
afterwards I'm like, what did I just do? They're gonna forget tomorrow that I did this. I was doing this for my physical health. But that's when I really like the switch went off. I've got to do it.
Welcome to Your Life Unbounded. I'm Gloria Julien, an ex-mechanical engineer turned career decision coach, and I landed here after 2 major career pivots. Today, I help high-achieving professionals break through decision paralysis and claim the career direction that they've always wanted. If you're currently stuck and overthinking your next move, I want you to know that your hesitation isn't a lack of courage. It is a highly sophisticated risk assessment masquerading as data. So I created this podcast to share the real messy middle of career transitions and what I've learned throughout this journey. We're going to take a look at the data together and build the strategy so you can commit to the first move towards your own life unbounded. Today's conversation is a look at what happens when the exact risk assessment takes place over a long-term, high-stakes career pivot. My guest today is Jennifer Johnson. Jennifer spent 35 years navigating high-stress corporate environments, ending her career in medical marketing. But by trade, Jennifer is an industrial engineer, someone who lived and died by spreadsheets. When her corporate operating system hit a critical threshold, resulting in the exact hospital bed presentation you heard at the top of this episode, she knew she had to change her trajectory. But she didn't make a reckless overnight leap. Instead, she executed a deliberate 8-year design process to build The Plant Place, an art and plant studio based in New Jersey. Her transition took 5 years of deep research, 2 years of systemic planning, and a full year of physical execution. In this episode, we break down the real variables of a major pivot, transitioning from a high corporate salary to zero, navigating health insurance logistics, and learning to trust your own capability. Let's look at the data and see what it takes to build a life unbounded. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to Your Life Unbounded. I'm very grateful that you are on our podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I really wanted to talk to you about what your career transition really looks like. In particular, this point that you had made, which was that it took you 5 years to make the decision, 2
Mhm.
more years of research planning and et cetera, and then another year to actually build it. And the reason I wanted to point that out is because I think sometimes when we think about career transitions, it's like, I'll just do it the next day. And here you are having a total of 8 years of a pivot that you are going through. So can you tell our listeners, like, where were you before? What
Yeah.
happened during those 8 years? And how did you start the plant place today?
Yeah, I would say corporate life for 35 years in 3 different careers, the last one being in medical communications or medical marketing, which is basically teaching doctors about new drugs. And very, very stressful, very, very scientific. And so I just felt like a lot was coming out of me and not getting back to me from whether the work I was doing or the company that I was working for. And so and then my daughter, my oldest daughter, they always said you should always, when you start your own business or looking into doing something else that makes you happy. And so she had gone to a place that was basically making art with plants, very different than what I do now, but kind of got the idea in my head. You know what I mean? I like plants, I like crafts, maybe there's something there. I've always wanted to teach. So that's something that I've always wanted to do. The idea kind of just started like the what ifs. What if we could do this? How would it look like? Where would it go? And so that's kind of saying like the slow burn of the 5 years is making it happen. And then there's just other things that I just think, fate happened. We owned a building that it had my husband's business in it. And for different reasons, he couldn't do that business anymore. So that business became free and open. So that kind of ticked the box of like, okay, where am I going to have this business? Basically a plant art studio. I think that took a lot of the time of planning that. What does it look like? what materials are we going to use? So I want to have a certain vibe to it too. So like, how does that all work? I had a ton of friends help me out. My friend Masha's painting and helped me lay out everything. But I think you asked the question, like, what was the catalyst that fun? Okay, I'm going to do this seriously. I had to do a presentation for work when I was in the hospital. And that was
What?
what afterwards I'm like, what did I just do? They're going to forget tomorrow that I did this. And I was doing this for my physical health. And I'm like, that's it. And that's when I really like the switch went off. I've got to do it. And I think the toughest thing to do is pressing that order of that first glass, because I have glass vases. That's what I have. So I did a order in China for $10,000 worth of glass. That was my
Well,
God. And pressing that button, it was like, okay, I'm doing it.
that's the real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really thing. So
Talk about skin in the game at that
yeah,
point.
it's like it's got to happen now. So and then
Okay, but first of all, like
yeah,
you were in the hospital and needed
yeah,
to give it a
hey,
presentation
yeah.
that you couldn't say, "Hey, I use a sick day?"
They knew I was in there. They said I was the only one that could explain it and all this stuff. I'm like, "Whoa, whatever. It was ridiculous, To so you had to do what the client want and what expected.
Was it a long time coming? Like before you got to that point when you were in the hospital doing a presentation, was it building up to that point? Like,
Yeah, lots and lots of research. So like, okay, where am I going to get my products? How much did they cost? I mean, I had spreadsheets on spreadsheets. Like, okay, so if I brought on somebody, to help me, because I mean, I wanted to be open almost 6 days a week. There's just a lot of different like aspects that I wasn't even aware of at the time, and really, I think, also setting aside us you really have to sit down to how much are you willing to bet. Thankfully for a long time and had a sizable 401k, but that's what we use. Do you know what I mean? And that's a huge risk. You have to put down a huge spreadsheet to what value are you putting in to what you're going for and can you expect in the first year. I know very few people that none of them made any money until at least 2.5, maybe 3 years. Most were 5 years before they actually like were making money. I've made a very good salary before. And getting that to zero is a bit of a shocker. Health insurance was a huge concern of ours. Yeah, I think you kind of have to do your research, but then but have like keep your dream kind of path going. I felt like everything was building toward it, not taking you down. If I want to say
mm-hmm.
that, it was more of like, okay, I can do this. Like learning how the shipping works, because they use all these terms, DDP, DDW. I'm like, what does that mean? What am I buying? It was tough, but I thought I was finally learning something. I was growing something that was mine, not
Yes.
somebody else.
Yes.
And I think that was a fuel, because at the end you always can remember that you're doing all this work for you, not
Yes.
not for someone else. And I think out of all the things that you have to keep that in your back of your head and keep reminding yourself, and when you say, oh my, I can't do this, or this is going to be too much. I was still working, full time while trying to do this. Maybe that's why it took so long to happen until that one time, sitting there going, what am I doing? But, just it was such a relief when I actually separated and did not do the other job, the old job, and just concentrated fully. It was like such a weight off. It was just the feeling of everything I can do. Yes, I was making all the decisions, and yes, it was a lot, but the response I got out of my own self, I liked myself better. I really liked what I
Yeah.
did. I like what I did. I love seeing people's faces when they make something, when they start with an empty glass vase and in the end they have this cute mini garden doing with and their faces light up. I've never had one customer be upset or not like that they made. And there's just been working with the different people from like 3-year-olds to 99, all different types. It's just been so much so more rewarding. I mean, having little daisy scouts hug your leg and saying, I had a great time learning how to plant is way better than selling any $2 million project, my old, way better. So,
And doing the presentation from the hospital bed.
yeah. My God, yes.
You like doing your research for that amount of time. But the one thing that that stuck out to me with all of that was that you said, I like myself better. And I can totally relate to that. When I quit my job, I was like, I like this so much better. Ditto on the feeling so much more fulfilled when you're helping people in the way that feels aligned with you. Like, yeah, you like yourself better. And yeah, it is a lot of responsibility, but it's yours to own. I think that's why I like entrepreneurship because honestly, I think I was a terrible employee. And I think now that I'm out of that day job culture and get to actually control things,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not making the same as what you said. Like, I'm not making the same amount of salary that I made, but like my fulfillment is just so much
Right.
higher. Like my husband said, you seem happier these days. I was like, yeah, because I am.
Yeah. And then you find out from my old job, I had that commute, which was really expensive. I had to have
Uh-huh.
clothes, all the other things that goes along with it. I don't have any of that right now. I can wear a t-shirt and things. I can do whatever. I don't have that huge ferry ticket to buy to go into the city. A lot of the costs are going to change. Do you know what I mean? And you need a lot less than when you have to do when working for someone. That's what I found. It was like amazing what you can get by with when you don't have to.
You mean lifestyle?
Yeah, lifestyle. Exactly. The whole
Yeah.
lifestyle feels it's just more relaxed. It's not so I have this incessant need to get something. It's actually I put it more in to get something for the business. It's kind of like your whole redirect what you're because it's like it feeds you anyway. I don't. It's this constant like circle. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe this is outdated, but like people wanting to climb the corporate ladder, wanting to have growth, and like with growth is more money and blah blah blah. And like people may switch jobs in order to have an increase of salary. And a lot of times, like I remember having this conversation with my sister and my cousin at one point, and I was like, why are we continually growing and to have more money? Like money for what? Like I think that's part of the conversation is intentionally creating a reason to have a certain amount of money. Cause like what
Right.
lifestyle do you want to live? Is it an extravagant lifestyle? Is it a more minimalistic lifestyle? And also like where are you spending the money for that too? So like I like that you're saying like you'd be surprised how little you can get by on and it's not compromising the amount of fulfillment you have in your life.
Right. I will say roses and flowers and great things. You do. Their money is to start a business that you have to have some. So you have to decide are you going
Mhm.
to either borrow it or use your own or things like that. So having those plans and really knowing where what's coming from and having a kind of a plan B and a plan C is really important. I've worked very hard in corporate to have the money to do this. I think a lot of things I learned, even from the marketing things. I did a lot of this digital stuff. So social media really helped me being comfortable with
Yeah.
that for the business that I have. It's really, really important because that's how they even find you. So being comfortable with those kind of things. I did 35 years of business it did get me somewhere. I'm not saying that my past life was awful. It's just every last bit. I think it did. There was a building effect, but I'm definitely happier now. It's not going to be just like doors are open or whatever you're doing, and it's like business is there. It's going to be a slow thing, then there might be some little bumps along the way.
Yeah, yeah. What you were saying, like businesses usually don't turn a profit for a year to 5 years. The question that I have for you is, it sounds like you had some business background in your corporate job,
Yeah.
but how did you work towards figuring out what you needed to do in order to open up the plant place?
It's just talking to different people, talking it out, getting people's ideas. What do they think is maybe a good idea or not a good idea, or where they could go. It's just I did a lot of testing. Do you know what I mean? That's what I did. It was a lot of testing out.
Yeah.
What does this sound like? What do you think? What are you doing this? And how do I get to do this? And I talking to my accountant about like planning out what we're doing. And you just have to ask for help. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Know what you're good at too. I think that's another thing. Like accounting and me, not a. I pay someone to do that. It's just not my forte. I'm just not a ticking tire to that point. I understand it. I definitely understand rhythm, but to actually do the placements and categorization, no, thank you. So
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I hear you on that. I am an engineer. I do enjoy my spreadsheets, and yet it's still something that I would prefer to offload onto somebody else because it's
eh,
like it's not the part that brings me joy. Right? And
yeah,
that's part of it. Like we want to support other people in
yeah.
the businesses that they have too. So why not
You're an engineer
offload
too.
that?
What kind of engineer were you?
Oh, mechanical.
We can't. I was an industrial. So
Oh my gosh.
long.
So you wait, okay, so you were so much more into spreadsheets than I was.
Yes, exactly. I lived and died by spreadsheets.
Holy crap. Wow. I had no idea before we got on this call that you were industrial engineering.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so a lot of our listeners on this podcast are overthinker types.
Uh,
Go like right that research you were talking about before you actually put things into action. How did you work through that overthinking research piece?
um, and so another part of this is I always say things come together at the right time. I mentioned I have two daughters, and one of them is a doctor, and the other one's becoming a PA. I am not going to have children that come back to me that need me that I need to support, which I think is a huge thing these days. A lot of my friends are still supporting their children in a lot of ways, and so that can be a huge drain and keep you from doing what you want to do. But I would turn that around as this: if you are supporting them, then ask for their support back into your business. I think it's having the people around either to that you don't have to support or you have or that can support you can also help in either way. But I think I was lucky to have that relief that I didn't have to worry about that part. A lot of people do. Starting a business when you're younger, you don't have that luxury. So think about who else could help you with that aspect to leave you free to start your business.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely relate to that. I'm practicing slowing down, just doing one thing at a time, which I think as a business owner, you can only do one thing at a time. You can't like multitask and do everything all at once. Maybe that's why, like for me, that's why it took about 12 years, 15 years to actually make a transition into entrepreneurship, and for you, 5 years of research to really go through all of that. I mean, it takes time to do things one by one. I think a lot of times when we start a new business, and I feel this every now and then, it's like, oh, I'm just so eager to like make it succeed and I want a profit from day one. And there's that impatience coming in, I guess support from other people to be like, hey, it's okay to slow down. And I just want to provide that permission. And I think the most important thing is also choosing to reach out to them, because you may have those people. Like I know I had the people that I could reach out to, but I felt really embarrassed to say, hey, I'm thinking of leaving engineering because it just doesn't suit me anymore.
Yeah.
But then once I started to like slowly encroach on that conversation, I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. Like people are so much more generous to, I think, others
Supportive.
a
Yeah, they're
lot of
also
times
supportive.
than I think to ourselves, right?
They give us like more credit. Oh, like, good, that sounds great. Go for it. They're all like, usually just where I'm like, oh wow, I should be more more confident in myself. Yeah, that it can happen. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even if they're just like not quite listening and they're like, oh, yeah, it's totally great. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. It's fine. When you were really going through that transition, like was there a moment you were like, I think I might have made the wrong decision? Did you have any doubts that came up, and how did you appease that part of you?
After the first year and it came up, we had a health insurance issue. The health insurance came up and it was gonna be a ton of money. I was thinking about how I would have to either close or really close half the time and go back to work. Do you mean either as a consultant or as a full-time thing? Um, the dread of doing that. But I have to say I was extremely lucky and my husband found out of the blue on a good job that he loves, and it had health insurance. I feel like sometimes things just fall into place. They were meant to be. Job. He loves what he's doing now. Plus, it allows to do that. So I sometimes had divine intervention, but that was the time. There was a time that just because we just couldn't afford, had not having covered, especially at our age. So that was, unfortunately, that was the time. But then fortunately, something happened that we didn't have to go down that direction.
Yeah. I'm so curious like about that mindset shift. Like you said, like divine intervention. Sometimes I feel like there's a certain energy in the world that like, when you open yourself up to allowing yourself to receive these opportunities, it seems like they just come about. What do you think about that?
I'm very into that. I work with a life coach that's really is what you think and what you put out there is what's going to happen. So if you do think about negativity, or I can't do this, or this might happen, then that will happen. I know something's going to happen somewhere. I was getting that pit in my stomach. I'm like, I really don't want to do this. And then I just like, please, and it will happen. It will work out. And it did. I have to believe in that I'm going to concentrate on thinking of the now and and then the positively going out for what can happen instead of putting out there in the world something negative, and then that will do it.
Yeah. I believe that matters a lot because when you start to believe that it can happen, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of white cars on the road. And all of a sudden, like the same thing, it's like, wow, there's actually a lot of opportunities out there that you just hadn't opened yourself up to earlier because you didn't want to see them or whatnot.
Right.
But then when you start shifting to believing that it's possible, now you see all your white cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just noticing that. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
If there was one thing you could tell somebody who's listening, an overthinker who's like kind of in this middle of contemplating a big transition in their life, what's one piece of advice you would like to share?
Oh boy. I live and die this so never say never. Every time I said I would never do this or it could never happen, it always happens. So just never say never that you won't. Oh, I'll never be able to do this, or I'll never be able to. Like it just. Remember, I would never live in Florida. I lived in Florida 10 years. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I said, I never thought I'd live in New Jersey. I lived in Jersey 25 years. There's smaller and bigger things like that. But I think just don't put that out there like this roadblock of saying like there's a hard line and there's always you go around it, go over it or something. And it never turns out to be the way you kind of actually envision it, but maybe just something different and it could be better. So
never say never.
Never say never.
So never say never. And it's funny. I think I did the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm never moving back to New Jersey.
It's just great. Yeah, exactly. So
thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to share with the audience about what's coming up for the Plant Place?
Well, the Plant Place is starting out. We've just introduced our new Plant Bingo. We have Plant Bingo nights once a month, and we're actually doing one for our seniors, and specifically and kids, the daytime one in August. So if that goes well, we'll probably make that a more of a regular thing because I want to make sure the Plant Place is some place for almost everyone. So be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I can't wait to visit.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This has been an episode of Your Life Unbounded. If you are stuck in the career messy middle, stop looking for random inputs or data points. What you need is a strategic design to make that career move. So if today's episode gave you even a sliver of clarity, make sure to hit subscribe. If you have a colleague, a friend, or a family member who's also contemplating and overthinking that career decision, pass this episode along to them. I'm Gloria Julien, Career Decision Coach. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week.